Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to talk about, again, bring up the movie When They See Us, a character analysis. And the character analysis is on Korey, the sixth kid who was wrongfully accused. Not sixth, but the fifth kid who was wrongfully accused of the rape, of the Jocker rape incident in 1989. Now, why I wanted to do analysis on him is because I feel like, in a sense, his part, even though it was a fourth part, and even though he was a side character, because by the end of the day, the only reason why I say he's a side character is because out of all the five, out of all the five kids, out of all the 5 to 6, I feel like all the 5 or 6 kids, he was honestly wrongfully accused a lot, only because of the fact that he was mainly a side character. The only reason why I say he was a side character is just the fact that when the police was apprehending different, like, black kids and just kids in general, and minority kids who were in the park in general at that time when the Joker was there, he he not got apprehended, but more or less he just basically joined. He just kind of apprehensively joined the whole situation because of the fact that he was with his friend at the time. The police was arresting his friend, and he felt like he was he was inclined to look after his friend when he was getting arrested, because he felt like, well, look, my mom's or your mom's is going to kill me if I'm not going to, like, watch over you or be supportive of you in this situation. So the best I could do is be a real friend and try to stick this out with you. Now, from that point, it's also just the fact that I felt bad for him. I really felt bad for him the most, because it's just the fact that, not only the fact that he didn't deserve this, like, this burden, for two reasons. For big two reasons, because he was a side character. And on top of that, he was unlawfully accused of an act that he did not do. It's just also the fact that, oof, when he was put in prison, he honestly was dealing with hallucinations, kind of like hallucinations in the sense where he was thinking of his mom at times when he felt lonely and felt like he was crap and wasn't nothing. To Also, there were times where he was also dealing with other illusions where he felt like when he was with his girlfriend at the jogger, the whole, like, park event incident, because mind y'all, that was a big incident because black there was like many black kids in one standing running to like the park for no reason, as a whole big group. So everything was happening fast, and it was a whole big group in this movie slash miniseries. And dude just basically got caught up in it. And when he got caught up in it, he was with his girlfriend. And I feel like the only reason why I felt bad for him in this moment slash part would just be the fact that when he was put in prison and he was dealing with illusions and incarceration, not just like incarceration in general, but like confinement incarceration, where he's put in the, like, the box. Um, what's the word? Nickname the box, or play on words, the box in general, where you're just locked up in a small room without much air and just a small confined space without any other prisoners around you, for his own safety, because that's another crappy thing that was going on with him. Inmates were just beating the crap out of him, or beating the crap out of him to the point where he almost died, maybe once or twice, maybe even more times, because he just either gotten the crap beat out of him, or he got the crap beat out of him and then got stabbed a few times until, yeah, life was almost gone from him and he was almost dead. They had to keep on putting him in the infirmary, whether as a kid at age 15 or 16, to as a man growing into a man. he still got basically got his ass whooped a little bit to the point where his life was getting beaten out of him. So another thing I had to point out about Korey and why I felt bad for him, and I feel like honestly, if I had to say something about him as an analysis, he makes me remember this one old movie. I forgot what the movie was called, but yeah, there was this one old movie, this old black movie that I watched a long time ago that's kind of similar to this movie in his own rights. This one black character, his name was Radio Raheem. Korey, I feel like he's an embodiment of Radio Raheem because of the fact of, long story short, in the movie, Radio Raheem, he kept on playing his boombox with Fight the Power, booming and blasting his music. By the end of the day, I feel like, right, and then, like this white Italian dude, like, just broke his jukebox because he was like, stop playing that music or blasting music in my restaurant. And it was just messed up and wrong for him to do that because by the end of the day, I feel like, look, even though that's his, that was the Italian dude's establishment, it's still the fact of, I feel like Raheem was in his rights to like play music. And aside from that, it's just the fact that, look, you can take out or banish someone from your establishment without breaking their belongings like that or taking violent measures such as that. All Rail Raheem was doing was blasting his music and I guess in his own unique way, not only blasting his music, but blasting, his own personality and aggressive, not aggressive, but his own personality and black power would let the music fight the power because he loved the message, fight the power. It was just wrong for him to do that. And as if I had to like, if I had to like basically, if I had to quote like my history book when I was taking modern Black history, as Martin Luther King pointed out, he had a when he was was a pacifist protester. He pointed out the fact that I have when he was arrested for protesting and like being a captain of his own march, his own like peaceful protesting. It's the fact that he had the when it comes to like the First Amendment, he had the right to always voice his own what's the word his own opinions, and also not only that, but he also had the right to also create his own march, his own peaceful protest marches, or his own protests in general, as long as they were peaceful. As a citizen, he had the right to do it with the First Amendment. For the law to honestly arrest him for that, unlawfully arrest him for that, that's just an unlawful thing to do. And the only reason why, and even Martin Luther King pointed this out, and the only reason why they did that was because he was protesting, as we all would know, he was protesting for human rights slash civil rights in general when it comes to black people, and human rights in general when it comes to his big trying to achieve his big dream of honestly creating unity in the community, in the American community, versus like just apprehensive segregation and racism in the community itself. That's what Martin Luther King was trying to create. And even my history teacher, respect to my history teacher a little bit, he pointed that out. He felt that he was not only fighting for civil rights, but he was fighting for human rights, because by the end of the day, Martin Luther King felt that yes, laws in a sense are just to create, but they should be created to create balance, not imbalance. Balance is more where it's respecting a person's rights and it's respecting a person as a human individual, versus laws that are unjust. They are laws create they are unlawful laws that just create chaos and just dispute. And as my book pointed that out, Martin Luther King says he was just one individual, especially as a protester, trying to point out what was the problem, what was his point of him protesting, and why he had a big issue with it. And he also pointed out the fact that yes, back in those days, they would try and say that you can make this protest this certain time and keep pulling it back, or we can meet in court for civil rights movements for these certain dates, but keep on pushing it back. And he pointed out the fact that taking action now is the best thing to do versus always waiting for a law to do something and letting the law keep on pushing it back. That's when you know that just just full rights is not going to be created if you're going to keep pushing it back. That's why, in a sense, I respect. After my history book more, I have more respect towards Martin Luther King and his own rights, because by the end of the day, it wasn't as aggressive or as strong as Malcolm X, but it was aggressive in his own rights or his own way, because by the end of the day, Dr. King wasn't moving or budging for the man or America itself unless due process or just laws were lawfully made or lawfully corrected versus just sitting there, just walking away and sitting in his own house, making it look like that he's not seeing this or he's just ignoring what's going on. He was making history. And I feel like, in a sense, in the movie, I think Korey, in his own way, besides him being an embodiment of Radio Raheem, God rest that dude's soul, in the sense, he was kind of an embodiment of both Radio Raheem and Martin Luther King. Because just like how Martin Luther King said that he refused to honestly move for the man until the law was corrected and justified. Same thing with Korey. Korey, when when the when basically people from the agency who are responsible for like making inmates their paroles and starting to like make the paperwork for their paroles, every time when a cop or like anyone who are responsible to watch over inmates keep on pulling like Korey into that room where the parole officials kept saying, "Are you? We'll grant you a parole, but you're just gonna have to admit what you did was wrong, and you did what you did, or you admitted what unlawful crime that you did." And Korey just straight up sat there and just was quiet. He was quiet. He just refused to say anything because by the end of the day, he knew that he didn't do anything wrong and he didn't rape anyone. He didn't know about the whole situation. So he refused. He was mute and he was refusing to say anything. And that's what I liked about Korey. I liked that character about him. Another thing I kind of liked about him more would be just he did not give in, and even and calling back to my first video about the explained, when it came to the point where the real convict, funny thing, Korey, when it comes to his part, he in an early time met his convict, hit like the real convict who raped that woman or the jogger from that park incident. He and his name was Ray, and he just basically admittedly said to Korey that, so when you met up with the parole officials, you kept saying nah because you know you didn't do anything wrong. And he saw a light in him where, as he said, that you have hope and you have faith. And as you keep going on with this with Korey's story, you not only have the mom have symbolism of her, I guess, changing, because if I had to say something about the mom, and I'm going to try to be real quick about it, but heavy at the same time. The mom was just messed up. She cared about her son and she cared about his well being, but at the same time she was messed up because for one, when it came to her second son, which made his own life choices, when it comes to his own sexuality or change his own sexuality, she was against it. Of course, she was against it because it was 1989, but at the same time, it's just she was against it, and she was terribly against it. She even called her own second son like a demon for it, versus her son saying that you calling me a demon, you calling what I'm doing, what my choice is wrong, when you're sitting in your own home dealing and stuff. I feel like when he said that statement, she said that statement, I feel like she was just basically point out the fact that the mom was probably, besides having like a regular job, she probably was dealing drugs a little bit or doing drugs in her own house or her own way, whether getting money for it or just basically doing it in general, one way or the other. They were kind of like in poverty in the sense, in some ways, not bad poverty, but just ghetto. They lived in the ghetto. Long story short. But yeah, Korey even seen this going on, and yeah, it was just terrible. But yeah, besides the mom improving, it was also the fact that when you see Korey pick up the phone with his when talk to his mom, you see a picture of Jesus in the background, and that's more symbolism of that inmate Ray. He saw hope and faith within this man, and he respected that with them. They got into a scuffle once back in the day in his second prison that he was in, but he respected him out of that man and for his faith and hope. And in a sense, I can strongly say, as a man of my own strong principles, I would like to say that, in a sense, Ray was affected by God. Ray was affected by God, and it was put in his soul that he should honestly fess up and confess on what unlawful thing that he did when it came to the whole park incident. Which I give respect to Ray, even though I'm pissed off that Ray got like scot free for a good minute, for about 12 years, or maybe about like 5 or 10 years. I say those odd numbers because, again, Korey met Ray at his second prison, so it had to be between about like 10 or 12, 5 years or some or more, something like that. Only because Korey again just refused to like say that what he did was wrong and he did that unlawful thing. Unlike the other four like kids slash men who just probably most likely admitted what they did was wrong, but they made a vow when they were back in society that they will never talk about that event again because they all know that they didn't do anything wrong. But the biggest thing that I feel for Korey would be not only just the fact that he got beaten up like on a daily basis. It was also the fact of he learned in the second prison that his brother slash sister got killed or died from like the warden of that second prison. And ooh, that was just heavy. That was heavy for him. That's when he went off. Korey went off when that happened because again he just didn't feel like crap, and he felt like he wasn't nothing, especially since he never heard from no one and his mom didn't consistently see him enough for him to feel like he was loved in any type of way. Only people that he gradually met, God graced him with in the prisons. I felt like he honestly had those people that felt like care for him versus nobody else. But yeah, that's my characterization with Korey. I feel like Korey was a man, as Ray would say, he was a man of faith in his own way, and he was a man of hope, and also strong, and also strength and perseverance. But at the same time, I feel very sad and feel bad for him. And I also feel like he now, like I said before, now I think about it, he's an intertwinedness of Martin Luther King a little bit, but but about like 90 or 95% of, about like, I'm going to give about 90 or 85% of it, he's more of a Radio Raheem because by the end of the day, again, he was a side character that just got caught up in a bad situation when he was just vouching for his friend in a yet again, like I said, a bad situation that occurred, and he didn't do anything wrong. He was just trying to follow the law, and he was trying to do what's right, while at the same time trying to do the best he can to not get in prison or have a criminal record on his record, and just wanted to go home. But he got denied that, sadly, when it came to the second part. But yet again, out of all that, God graced him with freedom, and God blessed him with more, and even overflowed his overflowed his cup was just blessings because he not only got blessed, but the other four boys slash men got blessed as well too by the end. That's my analysis. That's my explanation over Korey. Please leave a like if you like this video. Please subscribe if you like my other videos. And please also leave comments if you have any thoughts about the character Korey, or thoughts of like my my movie review as well too, or my series review about this miniseries. Thank you and bye.